What's going on, guys? It's back again. This is another episode of the Chism Sports Groove. That's the CSG. If you didn't know, I'm your host, Jackie Chism. Today we got a good episode for you. Definitely going to cover the Titans today. We got a victory weekend, even though it feels like a loss today. We're going to cover the good, the bad, and the ugly. We got Monday Night Football tonight. Let's get it. And I'm going to also talk about the NBA 75th team and some of the craziest names I thought should never have been snubbed. All right, let's get it. All right, guys, Sports Groove back again. I want to start off right quick by going over Monday Night Football. Tonight we got the Giants and the Chiefs. I don't think it's going to be that much of a game, but it's still football. If nothing else on, you know I'm going to watch it. Look for the Chiefs' offense and their defense to come back and scrap as hard as possible. Look for some early turnovers and some home run shots on the offensive side. I think of its equivalency of a raccoon being backed into a corner. You know that they're just going to open up them claws and scratch until they get out. I think that's what's going to happen this weekend. The AFC West is not that far unattainable for them. So look for them to come out and make a statement that they're not dead in the waters yet. I just think that the Giants are going to move the ball a few times because the Chiefs defense is kind of lacking right now. So look for them to put up a few points. Look for their defense to make a few stops as well. But all in all, I don't think it's going to really be a game at the end of the day. My final score prediction is going to be Giants 10 to the Chiefs 31. All right, when we come back, we're going to go over Titans time. Tighten up. It's the Titans time. You already know what time it is. The victory weekend. Can't be more happier than that. Woo! Now, Monday is a different story than Sunday. Yesterday, I was writing down this show, getting my notes together, ready to go. And this morning I woke up, it just like the whole playbook was just thrown out. You want to talk about the game, you want to talk about the good offensive output that we had, the defense actually getting a couple of turnovers, stops on downs. You want to talk about the inefficiencies that we had to start the game again, that another slow start, but we rallied back again, and especially with that bend don't break defense. Kevin Byard came up with a big play there at the end. Elijah Molden had a big play, hawking that ball at the end, getting that pick six. We had a great overall team win, especially since it's a division opponents. The Colts, we see them every year, twice a year. And to get a sweep on the Colts, knowing that they know how we play, knowing what we're going to do, most of them, we know what they're going to do. Like, it's awesome to win. Carson Wentz, shout out to you. I feel like you came through at the end for the Titans. You were our star of the week. But if you haven't heard, you definitely going to hear Derrick Henry has a foot injury, and he might be out for the rest of the season. That trumps everything and any news that we have to talk about here in Titans Time. I feel like that hurts the most for any team in the league right now. Actually, in all of football, unless you're talking about high school. Like, he is like the identity of the Titans. King Henry is the best running back in the league. He's going to continue to be the best running back in the league. You hope that he comes back healthy in time for the playoffs. Looking at the best we can hope for is going to be a Jones fracture in that foot, and that takes about 8 weeks to come back from. Derrick's still pretty young. He's very well taken care of body-wise. That's going to be 8 weeks off his feet, though. Like, you can't use your feet. You can't come back healthy. You're going to need some time to help. So you look for what can we do in the meantime till we can get Derrick back. The Titans can be a still really good team. I think that the media in itself and all the rest of the sports and shows outside of Titans Nation are going to tell you that the Titans were already like a top 10 team, but barely cracking the top 10. And without Derrick Henry, we fall out. But in all actuality, I think that we can still be a top 10 team. We know that our division is not shit, so we can win that straight up. Like, that's not a problem. We're going to be a playoff team. We're still playoff bound. But there are three things that I think that we should do to make sure that we are playing deep into January. And if we can get Derrick back, it's icing on the cake. It's a Super Bowl team. But he has to come back healthy as well. I think we still can shock a lot of people, and we can beat anybody at any time, just as long as you count us out. If it's a game we're supposed to win and we're supposed to blow somebody out by, it might be a close game. But if we're supposed to lose and we're supposed to get, like, there's no shot of us ever winning, we're going to come out swinging like Mike Tyson. Now, back to those three things are going to definitely be, we're going to have to find a way to get a steady running game. That's saying a lot, especially with the O-line. Derrick was able to cover up a lot of inefficiencies within our O-line and blocking schemes. Sometimes Tannehill didn't make some of the right calls, or the defense just adjusted well because it just wasn't a good play to run Derrick sometimes. Now that we don't have the all-world running back where we can just say fuck you and line up and run it left, run it right, run it left, run it up the gut, toss left, toss right, split left, split right. We can't do that no more. We got to be creative. And finding a way to continuously have that steady running game is going to be number one key for the entire team. Secondly, I think we're going to definitely have to add some speed. We're going to have to get all of our weapons that we have available healthy. Julio, AJ. We might even need to get some speed at the tight end position. Look for like a bigger a bigger wide receiver to be converted over. Somewhere along those lines. We do need to add like mismatches and speed onto a defense, an offense now, to give different looks at teams, to increase that running game and give us room for the play action as well. Also, I think we need to solidify the back end of our defense, that not just talking about the defensive backs, but our linebackers as well. I feel like Monty Rice played a really good game. He is really young, though, and he can learn a lot from Avery Williamson. Bringing him in is going to be very helpful for the growth of David Long and for Monty Rice. But we need somebody now. If we're going to win this season, we need somebody now. I don't like to have put that much mileage on Derrick Henry or what we're going to ask AJ and Julio to step up and do, especially the mileage we're going to put on the defense as well, and just call it a year. With a playoff team, we need to have a reason to have a playoff team. Like, dismantle it now and just rebuild then, if that's the case. But I think I trust in John Robinson. Big John has not let me down yet. He's hit on some crazy picks. He's missed on some picks that you see the upside for, but I feel like he's been top dollar. Some players let him down, let the organization down that he signed, but I wouldn't put that on him. On paper, signing those players was great. Jadeveon Clowney, I'm definitely talking about you, bro. I feel like this team is still going to go far. We're going to be playing in January. It's all a matter of still coaching and getting that right. If we can get that aspect of it together, we have pieces. We do need to trade for a few, and that's what I'm going to cover now. I'm going to go over just 4 players I think that we definitely should trade for. I know I talked about it in the last segment, but we definitely going to have to talk about it again since the trade deadline is closing in on us super fast. First player I need to talk about definitely is Xavier Howard. To add him on the other side across from Jackrabbit, you still got Chris Jackson that just came back. Elijah Molden's playing great in the slot. You have more depth now that you can use at that position. I mean, he fits our scheme that we need. Playing off, using his instincts and speed, range guy. He's very productive, something that we have not had in Tennessee in a while. So I love to see him come in and contribute to a team that really desperately needs him on defense. Secondly, I think we definitely should trade for Melvin Gordon. He's been very productive everywhere he's gone. I know that there's been some he bet on himself and failed, but he still is a very talented all-world running back. It sucks that he's in Denver and his stats are just empty again, but he definitely could fit with our scheme and what we do. He's a downhill runner, one-cut downhill runner that can fit that zone blocking scheme, and he's able to catch out the backfield. I feel like he's more capable of doing it than the Jeremy McNichols, and he's a more capable runner than Adrian Peterson, who we're going to bring in for a workout. Going back to the offensive side of the ball, I think that, again, we do need to add some speed at that tight end position. That's something that will draw those linebackers in the rest of the AFC crazy. Somebody like Evan Ingram, who is all-world talented, just in a bad situation, if injuries have hurt him. He's been good. He's been healthy this season. He's been on a bad team. So I feel like, trading him at this point for a 4th or 5th round pick, probably even a 5th or 6th, hopefully next year, if they would take it. That would be a great pick for the Titans as well. Staying with the speed aspect of that element to their game, I think that Andy Isabella is going to be a great pickup. The Cardinals do not use him at all. He's a good return man. He's he's also just a nasty speed guy. For a lineup hit you in the mouth Titans team, to have that deep threat like a Khalif Raymond we had last year was a huge asset to us. We did not add anything that to replace it. We did have Cam Batson, who I feel like is just as fast, but he's out on IR, and I don't think he's returning this year with that knee injury. So we definitely need somebody to stretch the field a little bit better. AJ and Julio can stretch the field. They're dangerous at all 3 levels, short, intermediate, deep. But you're gonna need that guy that you're gonna bring in, and the defense has to take full advantage of, take aware of. That they're going to go deep and they're going to have some speed that can ultimately wreck our game today. Overall, I think that, again, we're still a playoff team. We're going to win our division. So I'm not too worried right now. December and January is where I'm biting my nails and I'm starting to sweat a little bit at. Until then, though, I think we're going to fix the issues. I think we're going to bring in some different elements to the way that we play to make that transition better. So I'm looking forward to it. It's the NFL season. It's always going to be this crazy. You can't never predict what's going to happen next. Now, all right, guys, that's Titans time. When we come back, it's going to be Vegas, baby.
Vegas, baby, Vegas!
All right, Vegas, baby. This is the segment where we go over the good, the bad, the ugly of anything we can bet on this week. Luckily, it's week 8 of the NFL season, so we're going to cover our bets going over from this past weekend. Definitely want to start off with the good this weekend, and I don't even have to look at my notes to know that I'm going to talk about Philadelphia. They came out and just demolished the Lions 44-6. You heard them say that they were going to get it together at some point. The Lions is a good team to figure some shit out. You know what I'm saying? That's a really good team to figure some things out about yourself. They play really hard, so don't take that win lightly. That the Lions have been in amazing games late in games, and they should have won to that one. You were thinking that maybe the Lions could have got off that 0 this week, but Eagles had some other thing to say. Jalen Hurts played a really good game too. His stat line didn't show it. Maybe about 300 yards of total offense, but the way that they conducted that offense, that defense was flying around. Darius Slay and Avonte Maddox, man, you like to see them put it all together at least once, So, shouts out to Philly. They ain't the good this week. I definitely want to talk about the Seattle Seahawks this week. Yes, you're playing against the Jets, but it's Geno Smith at quarterback. Man, the dude is no better than Butt Fumble Sanchez. So, what the yeah, he lost some good games for them already this season. But to go out against a Jags team that you're supposed to win against and beat the shit out of them, you like to see it. You like to see for Pete Carroll at least, and the rest of that offense and that defense that they're trying to get together. Also, the Panthers are coming out of the ugly this weekend and going back into the good. They were at least able to cover the spread, beating the Atlanta Falcons 19 to 13. And again, it's a division opponent, so take out the fact that they're a terrible team. They see each other all the time. The Panthers have been struggling for the past few weeks, especially without Christian McCaffrey. Sam Darnold's been benched. It's not a good look going on down there. The defense has had some terrible injuries going through, especially in the secondary. But they were able to pull out a win this weekend. Panthers in the good. All right, I'm definitely going to switch it up, and now we're going to go to the bad this weekend. And the first team I think we should all know I'm going to talk about is the Bengals. How the hell do you blow out the fucking Ravens, turn around and lose a game to the Jets with their backup quarterback? This is his first start, and he threw for over 400 yards on you guys. does not make you a good team at all. That exposed the Bengals for what they really are, man. They've had some bad losses up to this point, losing to the Bears in Justin Fields' first start, when he's coming into the game, his first action. Also losing to, now losing to the Jets. Like, that's, like, what? Yeah, number one team in the AFC last week. Come out and lose to the Jets. They should be in the ugly, but I feel like that Joe Cool and Jamar Chase are going to fix the ship on offense. I don't know about that defense, though. Woof. You cannot give up 34 points to the Jets' backup quarterback. Yeah. Woo. Next, I definitely want to talk about is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I like to see it. They lose this weekend 27-36 to the Saints. I like to see the Saints win, especially knowing that Jameis went down. Taysom Hill was out this game with a concussion, and and I don't like Tom Brady. And there's no way you can tell me that a 44-year-old quarterback with no athleticism is playing still in this league at a high level without the help of steroids. So I don't care. Like, I'm gonna say it. Like, there's no way. Like, no athleticism to start with. All right. So, like, and plus I like the underdog. So, Tampa Bay won last year. Tom Brady, they say you're the GOAT. All right, whatever. It's over with. It's on to the next. Like, we want to see the next people win. Like, can we go about it? But the way that they lost that game, like, woo, that was ugly. Like, that should be an ugly. But it's Tampa Bay. I feel like they're gonna have an easier schedule. They play Carolina and Atlanta continuously going forward. So they're going to get it back right. But Tom Brady throws a pick six. They take about 3 or 4 sacks to end the game. It just all crumbled around them. It just was ugly to look at. You hate to see it. I definitely want to add that the Chargers losing 24-27 to the Patriots was not like a terrible loss, but the way they lost was so ugly, which would made it bad. Like, it did not seem like Justin Herbert was comfortable. He played like a rookie quarterback again, and for the media and everybody, all the official people, to talk about how Justin Herbert is like one of the next guys up. Like, he really regressed in that game as a quarterback. Just going back and looking at the film, but it just didn't seem comfortable as well. I expected the Chargers to actually win that game, and without a few key turnovers late in that game, you see them actually do win. Now it's time to talk. Let's turn this over to the tongue twisters. Now it's time to turn it over to the ugly. Ugh. And there's plenty of ugly go around this weekend. I want to start off by definitely want to start off by talking about the Minnesota Vikings. Last night on Sunday Night Football, they came out and looked flat. They didn't look like they really wanted to play too much. Kirk Cousins looked like the quarterback I thought he was, but not like he's been playing to be. The wide receivers were locked down pretty much. Justin Jefferson looked like he was dealing through some injuries at certain points, and they had no other options really going on. You would think that a team with that much talent at the running back and wide receiver, tight end positions would be able to utilize those, but it just seemed like the way that they played just was so ugly. It wasted a really good defense and an opportunity to win that game. Seeing that, like, that Dak Prescott's not in the game and it warms up and doesn't play, like you should take advantage of that. You should have been able to score at least 23 points, which would have won you the game. I don't think that team is able to tie their shoes the same way twice. Now, does that go for coaching? I think so. Mike Zimmer's been there for a long time. I know that his guys like him. His team rallies around him. But are they competent? I'm not comfortable betting with the Vikings right about now after that game. That's why they're going to stay in my ugly. I definitely also want to add the Washington football team back into the ugly again this week. They weren't able to do anything on offense. The way that they ended that game was just ugly as well. It was just a crazy sight to see. That they had a 4th and goal, throwing it towards the end zone, don't get it. Melvin Gordon fumbles like within like on the football team side of the field. They turn around and don't do nothing with it. End up losing 10-17 to the Broncos, who have been on a losing streak and swarming the drain. So I think that the football team has some definitely young talent, but it's the same team, man. Like until they get rid of that owner, until they get rid of that billionaires boys club that they got going on in there, that team is still gonna circle the drain, no matter how many first round picks you put on their defensive line. Like it's just sad to watch. They're gonna keep remaining in my ugly, I think, for the rest of the year. Another team that remains in my ugly and for like the worst reasons too is definitely going to be the Chicago Bears. Now, I feel like this one's going to be a little bit different as well, though. Like they're in the ugly, but Justin Fields played the best game he's ever played. Matt Nagy was not there, so that's a recipe to get rid of your quarterback. I mean, your coach. I'm sorry. Like that's definitely a good recipe. Like you went through a whole week of not actually physically being there, physically making sure anything was done, and they go out and yeah, they do lose to the 49ers 33-22, but the quarterback comes out and plays the greatest game he's ever played in the pros. Like he's like you gotta get rid of your coach at that point, right? The search starts now. So even though they're in the ugly, you know it's always darkest before the brightest. It's always it's always brightest right after the storm and before. So you know, like I feel like that's where the Bears are right now. Like they're gonna find the person that's gonna be able to unleash the magic that Justin Fields has. And he showed it in that game. He had that 4th down run. He circled back around, ran about 50 yards for a touchdown. Like he's got some special talent. Like he's going to be somebody to watch for. Look out for the Bears once they get a new coach. All right, guys. I definitely want to cover some NBA right quick and just cover a couple of games in prime time until the next time we turn. I want to go ahead and start off with the game on Tuesday. The Heat are traveling to Dallas to play the Mavs. I actually like Dallas in this one. I actually like the Heat in this one. I'm sorry. Yeah. Whichever team Jimmy Butler plays for, because he's going to be the best player on the court. He's been playing like lights out right now. Kyle Lowry has found his equivalent to DeMar DeRozan. And with the shooting that they have on the Miami Heat, big man presence with when Bam comes back as well, like that's going to be a team that's going to go really deep in the Eastern Conference. Look for them to continue playing at a high level right now, especially with like relatively low injuries. Next, we got the Atlanta Hawks traveling to Brooklyn to play the Nets. Actually, I like the Nets in this one, only because I feel like James Harden finally woke up. Like, he had to adjust to the way that they were calling the games, and I feel like he has. As long as he's adjusted to the way that they're calling games, and still playing the way that he wants to play and dictating games like you've seen him play over the past weekend, like, the Nets are going to be a terrible problem for the rest of the Eastern Conference, with or without Kyrie, because James is just one of the best players in the league off rip by itself. And then you add a Kevin Durant on top of that, like, there's no stopping that amount of offense coming every night. Those two can actually alternate, adjust, like whoever's hot can take the hot hand. You would like to have the third wheel in there as well that can go every night as well. But until then, I'm still liking what the Brooklyn Nets got. They still got some really good pieces down there as well. Patty Mills is a really good shooter. I don't know what water they drinking up there in Brooklyn, but LaMarcus Aldridge and Blake Griffin are looking really good right now. So shout out to Brooklyn. Right after that, the Hornets are traveling to Golden State to play the Warriors. Actually, I like the Warriors in that one. I feel like LaMelo Ball and his crew are going to put up a crap ton of points. They're going to make that game extremely interesting. I feel like there's going to be 50 threes in that game. 50 total. Made. Not just attempted. Made in that game. And it's going to be a back and forth pace, but the way that the Warriors are playing right now is commendable. Like, they are ready to start the season with or without the rest of the NBA. Like, they are on fire. Steph Curry has heard everything everybody said, and he's like, give me my shine. And he's getting it. He's definitely getting it. Oh, man. I'm rocking with it. All right, that's Vegas, baby. Until when we return, I'm going to go over the 75th anniversary team and some of the snubs that I think that should not have happened. Till then, we'll be back. All right. Now that we've come back, we're going to definitely talk about some of the 75th snubs. There's some outrageous names on this list of snubs that I've seen. They do talk about the Dwight Howard, so I'm going to talk about Dwight Howard too. He definitely should have been on there. And the only reason why I say Dwight Howard should have been on there is because Bill Walton was on there. Now, you can give me whatever you want to about UCLA and Portland, but at any time was Bill Walton ever considered one of the or the best player in the league like Dwight Howard? Dwight Howard, if you forget, was on an amazing run for 5 years where he led the league in rebounding 5 years straight. He led the league in blocking 2 years. He was Defensive Player of the Year a couple of years. He should have won a championship if he wouldn't have ran up into Kobe at that time. Like, he did win one with the Lakers as a role player, so his longevity is there as well. I'm not understanding why Bill Walton, who won championships with the Bucks later on, with the Celtics later on, with Boston, and was a good key part to that. But he had some serious injuries that really derailed his career from what it could have been. And it could have been Dwight Howard, but it wasn't. You know whose career it was? Dwight Howard's. Now, as a kid growing up, I'm a 90s baby, so my really ingratiating into the basketball world was around the early 2000s. How in the hell can T-Mac and Vince Carter be left off the list? there was no bigger tandem at any point in time than those two. I can't. Inside of basketball, like they were bigger together than Ray Allen and Paul Pierce. I give you that. But Paul Pierce and Ray Allen made the list. Now Ray Allen's one of the best shooters of all time. Paul Pierce is one of the greatest captains of all time. They both had historic careers, and they both were Hall of Famers. I don't think that their peaks, though, ever manifested what Tracy McGrady's peak was, though. Tracy McGrady, again, going back to the Dwight Howard conversation, he was one of the best players in the league at some point. Like, every night in and night out, Tracy McGrady was like one of the most beloved players from any fan. Like, that, his accolades are ridiculous. He has more all-team like selections and NBA All-Stars than any of the other people we even talk about right now. Yet he's left off. Like, Vince Carter had longevity. Maybe the championships, lack thereof, hurt him in the long run. But like, who else put that much fear into people in an in-game dunking? That's wild. I would not have left those two out. We would have to go back and look at how dominant somebody in the earlier generations or some shit was. But like, those two right there were culture icons, and they still remain to be. So I just don't know. I just don't. Now, I'm not too messed up on it, but I do see the argument for Tony Parker being left off the list. He definitely was an integral part to one of the greatest dynasties in NBA history. He was the point guard, so he ran the show. His stats may not show like how important he was to that team, but he definitely was that. Like, he was that important. And at some points, he was like, always in the conversation of some of the top point guards, even when his stats didn't back it up. Like, his play did when it came time for playoff time and when it mattered the most. Especially knowing that as a Suns fan, he shined when the lights were the brightest against the Suns, no matter what. I wish Steve Nash could have guarded him. Oh. Now, the last person I'm going to talk about is Joe Dumars. Now, I'm a little young to have watched Joe Dumars play at his height, but when you go back and you look at the tape, you look at the actual impact that he had on the game, especially with those bad boy Pistons winning 2 championships with them, the accolades that he had as well. He definitely was a top player of his era. Jordan even himself said that he was his hardest defender. Like, that was the hardest person to play against. So I just don't understand how is he still left off of there. He shouldn't have been left off the top 50 team, to be honest with you. And to be left off the top 75 team is even more ridiculous. Now, I do see them, all 5 of these players, definitely being added on to a top 100 team in 25 years from now. But that's just speculation and going through what we're talking about. If somebody who's never played in a league before, like, who am I to say who's better than who's not better than who? It's all about numbers and accolades and speculation from just a statistical analysis that I can make. I'm not gonna take that too serious at all. We're gonna sit back and we're gonna see who's on the next list that they come out with. All right, guys, that has been another episode of the Chism Sports Group. Thanks again for everybody who's watching or who's going to watch. Thanks to everybody in the Chism Channel organization who had helped put in a hand of putting this shit together. I'm not even knowing why I can't talk ever at the end of a show. But I'm your host, Jackie Chism, until we meet again. That's peace.
Brought to you by the Chism Channel and TCC Productions.